Welcome to the next episode of Dr. Kamini Rao's Masterclass. In this episode, we have a very interesting person. He is a bureaucrat in the government of Karnataka. He has served in all the departments of the government. Being a batch of the 1987 IAS cadre, he has worked with all the political parties and he has been liked by one and all. Because of his commitment to his work, there has been absolutely no black mark against him. Such is the quality of this bureaucrat, and because we've always felt that public expectation has been very high and the expectation of the government has also been high, there is a mismatch. We have Mr. Lakshminaraya to come and dispel the myths for us. Over to you, Mr. Lakshminaraya. Thank you very much for coming to this show.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me for this master class.
Thank you. Ms. Lakshminaraya, I have known you for maybe a decade or more, ever since I've come back. And I've always admired the fact that in spite of the fact that you are in a department which has so many problems, you appear to remain calm in spite of every kind of problem. People putting papers in front of you, somebody else coming and knocking on the door, another person coming and crying in front of you with some papers, etc. And yet you'll say, yes, wait a minute, or do you want a cup of tea, and you put somebody else in the side room, etc. How do you manage and how do you juggle all that?
Madam, when we entered the government service, we entered with an intention to help the people, work for the people, and work within the policy framework of the government. So we know our responsibilities. When we are carrying out our responsibilities, we need not panic. When we are failing in our responsibilities, we are not able to deliver what is expected by the people, expected by the government, then there is a fear. When there is absolutely no fear, there is no need of situation of panic, and we carry out our responsibilities very calmly, quietly. Number two, we make a sincere attempt to ensure that every request of the people is met legally within the framework of law. If it is within the framework of law, a person is supposed to get justice. He will get justice. If it is outside the framework of law, he is not able to get justice. That paper will be examined and the endorsement will be given to him saying that your work can't be done. Whereas a person who is genuinely required to help, we'll do our best and help him in accomplishing whatever request he has made. And therefore, wherever I go, wherever I function, I work with utmost calmness and keeping in mind my responsibilities.
So then just getting back to your early life, sir, how do you actually, where you came from a middle class family in Kolar district, and you are a family of what, 5 children? Siblings?
Siblings. I have 3 sisters and me, four of us.
So four of you. So perhaps you were the spoilt one, the only boy in the family.
Eldest in the family.
Eldest in the family. Oh, that means lots of responsibilities.
Yes.
Okay. And so the sisters also were educated along with you?
Yes, ma'am.
So
the focus was more on me because I was the first child, and I got a lot of attention, and I was given best of the possible education that is within the available resources of the family. My sisters also studied to whatever level they want, because ours being a traditional family, my parents were only focusing on getting them educated and marrying rather than getting into some profession. But still they did their own small-time work, but not big jobs. My last sister, who was born later, got into IT companies, and she is independent and she is doing other business. But the 2 sisters are married and settled very well with their husbands, and they are doing well. But the last sister is entrepreneur, come IT, come HR. She does multitasking.
excellent. So when you were in school, was there any influence from any teachers or anything to tell you that you were going to go into IAS or something like that? Or it was only just community work, or your father was an influence? How did it actually
Initially,
happen?
I don't say there was an influence on me to get into an IAS. Initially, I was recognized as a good student in every school I studied. In terms of discipline, in terms of hard work, in terms of studies. So I didn't have any problems in any school with any teacher. Be it primary school, be it high school, be it college. In the college, in high school, I had very teachers who liked me. I used to interact with them, share with them, talk with them. In the college, I studied in St. Joseph's College. There's Reverend Father Colasso.
Yes, I remember.
Reverend Father Colasso was my vice principal. He used to talk to me on a daily basis. Every day we used to spend 10 minutes talking to each other. He's one person who recognized me that you have a talent, you can achieve anything you want to achieve in life. After completing my graduation, I got into SBI, State Bank of India, as a probationary officer. I worked there for 5 years. At that time, I got married.
So you met your wife there?
Not met my wife, it was an arranged marriage.
Okay.
And then we married. After that, my wife mentioned that with this kind of knowledge and experience, I also by the time did my master's in economics. I also did my law in Renuka College. So I had these degrees with me, plus 5 years of experience in bank. You can fit into any higher posts, higher jobs. Why don't you shift to some other sector? And then she suggested government service is the better option and IAS is the best option. So that is the time I took about a couple of years to do this exam. First year I made it to IRS, Indian Revenue Service. Second year I made it to IAS. And that's how I changed over from a bank officer to IAS officer in the year 1987.
87.
Yeah.
You didn't think of IFS as well?
Not at all. Because that was not there in my mind. My mind was that we should work in our state, work for our people, and then contribute something for the society. That was my intention, that IAS suited my requirements. So therefore my first option was IAS. And thereafter, of course, other services didn't matter because I qualified in the first option itself. And the first option was Karnataka, and that also I've qualified. I got into Karnataka, my home state.
Which is excellent, because when you said you did economics and then you did law, was there any interest in IAS or something like that? What made you do law and economics?
I graduated from St. Joseph's College, madam, as I mentioned to you. Thereafter, I was thinking what to do. My option was only getting into some service either in the banking sector and the government sector. In both these sectors, economics subject is very, very important, because be it a banker or an administrator, ultimately the economic situation, economic conditions of the people, state matters quite a bit, and we have to work keeping that in mind. Law, I did it as an additionality, because if I get into government service, this law graduation will help me to understand the laws better and apply these laws while implementing the policies of the government. And even for framing the policies of the government, law helps a lot, because we'll be within the purview of the law for formulating the policies of the government. And we can contribute for the state by having economics and law graduation. And I will be able to perform better in my work and do well. That's the reason.
But you really found that useful when you...
Yeah, very useful.
Very
because
useful.
Looking at my basic qualification, when I looked at what is needed, I found these two subjects are very essential for my future. And that's how I applied.
Did that help you in your IAS exam as well?
Definitely.
In
my IAS exam, my educational background has helped me a lot. My education in St. Joseph's has helped me a lot. And then my economics and law also helped me in my preparing for the civil service, because I could understand things much faster. And as you are aware that I was working already, yes. While working I was preparing for civil service, and that needed a little more effort. And these two subjects contributed for my effort, and I could easily qualify for the exam.
Another thing that sort of interests me about you, you have varied interests. I mean, whichever department you are literally put into, in the government, as in a secret code word, people will say those are punishment departments, and this is not so the thing. This is a real plum department, and like for infrastructure, it's a plum department, but medical is a punishment department. You can't do anything and things like that. So, but you were able to, with ease, get into every department. So, when you went into these various departments, of course, you first started with Shimoga, Bellary and all these kind. What kind of an experience did you have when you first got into these kind of positions?
The very fact that government wants an IAS officer to head a department indicates that the department is very important. It is a different thing that some officers perform well, some officers don't perform well, some officers perform average. But the department needs services of an IAS officer who is experienced. And most of us initially work in the districts to understand the problems of the people at the grassroots level. As Assistant Commissioner, as Deputy Commissioner, as CEO Jilla Panchayat. That's where we directly interact with the people. And thereafter, we come to the departments in the government at Bangalore. And that is the time, whatever experience we have gained at the district level, we use it for the implementation of the programs of the state from state government, that is from Bangalore. And most of the departments have various service officers. We have KS officers, IAS officers. Some departments have been designated for IAS officers, keeping in mind the importance of the department. So I never felt anything wrong that some department is good, some department is bad. Nothing like that. Every department has some importance, and you can find ways and means to further strengthen the department and improve the department, make it functional, make it useful to the people.
See, there is a perception in the public many times that the bureaucrats become an impediment, because the politicians will tell you with a small slip, go and see this person and everything will be done. But what they don't realize is, does the policy allow that thing to happen? And so it just happens that these people think that the moment they bring in a slip to you, that it's all done. And the biggest problem lies on the bureaucrat to sort of see that it is within the framework of the law and whether there is enough of finance to actually give that kind of okay. And so when it lies on your table, you have that irate person coming and say, see, these are the people who actually, obstruct whatever the minister has said. Minister does no wrong. He goes on the stage and he talks, and it is the bureaucrats who are all wrong. Have you not heard these things?
Madam, in a democratic setup, it is bureaucrats and the political system both work together. Most of the bureaucrats may not have experience at the grassroots level, but the politician comes with a great experience at the grassroots level. Every day he is interacting with the people. Every day he understands the problems of the people. And he comes back to government and he tells us this is what people want. See, today, starting from our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to Honorable Chief Minister Yediyurrappa ji, they have all been grassroots level people. They have been with the people. And wherever they go, people meet them. It is not the bureaucrat who meets the people. Bureaucrat remains in the office and carries out the instructions of the government. But it is the minister who brings the problems to the government. So we should not look at the directions or instructions given by the minister as anything negative. You only convey the feelings of the people. If it is within the framework of the law, you implement it. If it is outside the framework of law, you try to formulate a policy which will figure getting those aspirations of the people as policy of the government. If it is not, take it forward to the next budget, see that they are incorporated in the budget. So we can work out various modes of implementation within, and we can also bring in laws to meet the aspirations of the people. Suppose, for example, Modi ji has said we'll all give them gas cylinder. It serves to rural areas. Nearly 8 to 10 crore people families have got gas cylinders. It serves two purposes. One is, we have a forest department. All trees are being cut in rural areas, taken as a fuel wood and burnt. Today, you are spending crores of rupees planting new trees. By giving them cylinder, you are preventing them going to the forest and getting wood from the forest and burning them. Number two, it helps in the health department because most of the women suffer from lung-related problems because of the traditional way of cooking. Now, gas will enable them to live happily, safely. Number three, the pressure on the hospitals with the ailments will be minimum when health of the people is good. Number four, the time saved by the woman who is doing multiple jobs in rural areas, women also work, men also work. She takes lesser time to cook her food, see that they go back to this. Number four, the entire family lives happily because the child is able to study, because there is no disturbance at home in terms of more smoke, etc. And the family remains healthy. So it has multiple tasks, but message is that you are giving a free cylinder to a poor man. Some people may say that why are you giving free cylinder to poor man, poor family? But it has multiple impact on the society. I just gave one example. Yeah. There are multiple examples. You ask me any program, I'll tell you what impact it has on a common man.
Yeah, but the fact is that the public don't realize that all this is there, that the forest department, the IEC group, the Information Education Counseling,
Communication.
the communication part, I mean, that doesn't come out in that. All they show is a woman holding the gas cylinder, and Modi ji is also there saying that this is a big program and we're giving a gas cylinder. I think even in that communication, this has to come out, that the forests are now not going to be hacked, and then we can get the women also healthy. Don't you think that women empowerment also needs to be shown there rather than a gas cylinder?
Today's society is more educated, more informed than a society of the past.
Absolutely.
And today, people like you are also contributing for the communication of messages of the government, messages to the people in different modes. It is not necessary that government alone should talk. It is for the people with good intentions, people with noble ideas should communicate and tell the people that is a very good initiative. They should tell that this is what is needed for our people. Today, if that happens, that every person talks about a government program, government doesn't have to spend a lot of money in popularizing their programs. So that also involves a lot of expenditure. Suppose we want to communicate about this scheme to people through various modes, we spend a huge money on publicity and all these things. That can go back to the scheme itself, and we can increase the coverage of the scheme to more people. So I would say that all knowledgeable, educated people should also contribute for the enlightenment or educating the people who require this kind of communication through various modes of communication. For example, toilet program, for example.
Yes.
We found one film star talking about toilet.
Yes.
About sanitary napkins for women.
The Padma.
So there's a film star talking about it. See, it's not necessary government, and that is intended for health sector. Good toilet and use of sanitary napkins by the women helps in ensuring good health for the women, good health for the family. So this is what is to be communicated, not just by the government, by all other means of communication through private. And today, when maybe about 2-3 decades back, we had one channel called Doordarshan,
yes,
communicating to the people under limited coverage. Today we have thousands of channels.
Absolutely.
Every state has got 150 channels. So what are these people do? They should also send some social messages to the people, and they should say that this program is good for the people. And not only one-sided, they talk about good programs. They should also tell government what is needed for the people. So this kind of interaction by people like you would enable government also to understand what is expected of the government, of the people from the government. So that is also very useful to the government in formulating policies for the future.
Yes, I think you just spot on this particular subject. But what happens is, somewhere I find that there is a disconnect and a mistrust. There's always that big divide between private sector and government sector. And also, if the private sector does something, the government sector says, okay, fine. Just take, for example, health. Okay, the burden of health is falling so much on the private sector, though the infrastructure is there in the government sector, but the consumables and the kind of infrastructure that you want in terms of super specialties, etc., is woefully inadequate.
Madam, I can tell you 2-3 subjects I can straight away narrate with examples. When you talk about health sector, I can talk about my state, I can talk about the whole country, but from the state I can tell you that every district in Karnataka has a medical college. A very high level of health professionals are working in districts. We have all kinds of specialities in districts. People don't have to travel long distances for healthcare. And that is largely has come from private sector. Now, government has also started medical colleges in every district. Largely today, traditionally, Karnataka has been a center of medical education and technical education. People from all over India came to Karnataka. Yes. And we produce large number of medical and technical people who have gone abroad and contributed their knowledge in different fields all over the world. I can only quote you recent COVID experience, COVID-19, when situation came that private sector should rope in. They voluntarily agreed to come and help the government, and 50% of the beds were reserved for COVID patients in Karnataka. Maybe only few states had a large private sector presence in health sector, and then they are collaborating with us and helping control of COVID. And today's situation is that Karnataka is fairly comfortable as compared to states like Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat, where the cases have gone up after the festive season. But Karnataka is reasonably good. The pressure has also come down. There used to be a tremendous pressure 4-5 months back when I was myself monitoring this. That's come down, and private sector is also treating patients. Patients are also, the cases, the affected persons are also able to understand how to ensure their safety of the family. So the education level has gone up. It's partly because of government initiative, partly because of private initiative also. So the communication has reached people at different levels. Then participation of private sector in infrastructure development. I can tell you examples. When the metro construction is happening, Infosys has come forward, Biocon has come forward. So a lot of private sector companies have come forward to contribute so that connectivity increases. So that people are able to
commute.
And then Bangalore International Airport, they are collaborating with us for airport line.
But you were responsible for the alternate line to the airport.
Yes. And that road connectivity which we have built in state government, when I was PWD Secretary, we found the pressure on single road would be too much. And people who do not want to pay toll should be able to use an alternate road. So we constructed an alternate road from airport coming to Bangalore and Bangalore to city. And that has also helped. And we have made another third road towards Devanalli. So today we have 3 entrances to airport. Only 1 entrance is toll road. So people from city from different directions will be able to travel in different directions. So that's again an initiative. There also, when the road construction was happening, it is Bangalore International Airport company. It's a private company which is joint collaboration with the state government. It's a joint venture of state government and the private sector. They collaborated with us. So that collaboration is there in the infrastructure sector. The collaboration is there in health sector. There is much collaboration in the education sector. We have a huge, large number of educational institutions in Karnataka from the private sector are working towards providing education for the people. We found, even I would like to thank our most of the matas, Swamijis, they are also into education, they are also into healthcare. So I don't think any other state in the country can match our strength in the private sector contribution to various social sectors, be it hostels, be it education, be it technical education, medical education, and infrastructure sector. So people have contributed. Azim Premji Foundation is doing very well in the education sector. Infosys has done tremendously in providing infrastructure to various. Even people are in distress. I would like to narrate this incident when our Honorable Chief Minister Yediyurrappa ji became Chief Minister first time in 2008. There was floods in the state, and lakhs of people lost their homes, everything. So that is the time when Honorable Chief Minister Shri Yediyurrappa ji said that let us do something for these people.
Is this the Ashray scheme?
That is the time
That's your this thing.
That is the time we thought of a scheme called Asaray. We have to give them help. And we built about 1 lakh of houses for the people, shifting them from places which are likely to be inundated by flood waters to the safer places. And most of these people are now happy. And subsequent floods that happened in Karnataka,
we didn't hear of so much of destruction.
We don't see the human misery. Floods have happened. Recently also floods have happened. But human misery was very minimum. People are able to go to their safer places, and the rescue and relief operations were very smooth. People, district administration could manage these floods much more effectively than what it used to be in the past.
That's true. This is of course...
There again, close to 800 crores was contribution from private sector. That's a tremendous help for the state government. And that happened, I'm telling about 2008, more than 10 years back. So that is the time they contributed nearly 800 crores. Today's money value is much higher.
Absolutely.
And that helped many villages to have safer housing facilities. And big companies have come forward in a big way. A lot of charitable organizations, they have helped us.
Which is excellent, because when I look at this, the balancing act, like for example a bureaucrat every day is a new day. It's not that you've got a preordained kind of list that you can do this, and then suddenly you come to the same office and you suddenly say minister's calling you, or this politician's calling you, or chief minister's calling. How do you actually take all this in your stride?
The very fact that we joined government service, we joined with fully knowing that we have to work with the political system also. We are not working in isolation. As a doctor or as an educationist, you may work in isolation, but for a government servant who enters government has to work with political system with government responsibilities that are given to us. And anything which is conveyed to you need not be considered as a kind of intrusion or a kind of a pressure on you. You take it in the positive way. If it is possible to be done, do it. If it is not possible to be carried out, if you convey to the concerned minister, concerned MLA, concerned politician that this cannot be done under the present circumstances, maybe it is possible to do when the laws are revised, policies are revised, the politician will understand. Or you can say that this cannot be done like this, but it can be done like this. For example, I'll tell you. Suppose you ask for a piece of land to be given to you for outright by government. Government will say we can't give you outrightly. We will give you on lease of 30 years. So you have to understand that what is permissible under the what is permissible under the law. We do it. We will not be able to grant you outrightly, but we will give you on lease basis with the condition that you may ask for extension of lease, etc. All those things are there. So it is necessary for the person who is approaching government should also know the law of the land.
Yeah.
So therefore things become easier. And it is also necessary for the politician or a minister when he is telling the bureaucrat that he should also know what is law. Then things become easier for him. And many politicians in Karnataka, they are educated, they are knowledgeable, their experience is very great, and many a times they don't tell us anything illegal. Many
Which is excellent, which is real. But I've always found that Karnataka is a very progressive state in terms of, as you say, literacy, in terms of discipline. I'm even talking about the public as well. See, if you saw, as you said, that Delhi and other places, when they have these large gatherings, you see many of them without masks. Whereas over here, you've seen that home quarantine is so high, people know that they have to isolate themselves, they have to wear a mask, etc. Though, of course, we do see the odd person without a mask here, but the number of people without a mask is much less compared to the northern states. So I think, somewhere education plays a very important part. And also the people here, if not only they're wearing a mask, but if somebody else is not wearing a mask, they'll tell them also, you please wear a mask.
No, that is there, madam. The entire community in Karnataka are well aware of their responsibilities, and it is necessary for them to continuously tell them also, because if government and people who are responsible, you don't communicate with the people, then nothing will happen. But I am sure that people of Karnataka are very good, far better than any other state, people from any other state. They understand what is their responsibility and they respond accordingly.
Also, going back again, they always say that when you have to spend time, sir, that you have to have a little bit of your me time and a little bit for family time, and you have to have a little bit of leisure and things like that. So, what is your timetable? I mean, all of us have 24 hours. And if you've got this kind of a role where you don't know what is your role the next day and your timetable, how do you manage?
Madam, we schedule our day's work from every day, from morning 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock, what you are supposed to do. Suppose I need to give some time for discussion like this, I slot a time, keep some time. So that we do, but sometimes the pressure increases so much when situations warrant your presence. For example, recently in COVID situation, getting in touch with the districts, getting in touch with the system was more required. So that is the time. Today I can tell you with the technology, we are able to keep in touch with the people much better than what it used to be in the past. Today, through video conferencing, through cell phones, video calls, we are in touch with the people continuously and touch with the responsibilities also. Suppose something has to be done now, some work is to be done at office. I can send a message and say that keep these things ready by the time I come. So we are able to do much better, much faster with the technology. So
But do you think COVID has really played a catalytic role in trying to use this kind of module? Because the kind of e-learning we're doing, the kind of the monitoring we're doing, like for example, you would have been running to Delhi so often, for example. Now that kind of travel is almost
come down.
closed.
Yes.
So if we're looking at it, we now realize that we don't really need to travel that far. The kind of video conferencing that you have. So do you think that once the COVID vaccine comes that you will get back to that kind of travel, or are you going to stick to this kind of video conferencing?